It's the Security Weekly News. I'm Doug White, and it is episode 505. It's Friday, the 22nd of August, 2025. Welcome to the show. We've got humans wiped out by 2040, Okta, Elastic, Bad Bots, Berserk Bear, Siemens, Aaran Leyland, and more on this edition of the Security Weekly News.
This is a Security Weekly production for security professionals by security professionals. Please visit securityweekly.com/subscribe to subscribe to all the shows on our network.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
It's the show that keeps you up to date on the latest security news twice a week. Your trusted source for accurate security information and expert analysis. It's time for the Security Weekly News. Ransomware, supply chain attacks, 0 days, cyber threats don't wait, and neither should your defenses. With ThreatLocker, you're not just reacting to threats, you're stopping them before they start. Our zero trust endpoint protection locks down your environment with pinpoint control over what's allowed to run and what's not. No guesswork, no blind spots, just proactive, built for now security that keeps your business moving. Want to see how a true default deny strategy works? Head over to securityweekly.com/threatlocker and take the first step towards shutting the door on threats before they even knock. Security Weekly and Cyber Risk TV are headed back to one of the biggest identity security events of the year, Oktane 2025, put on by Okta. It's live September 24th through the 26th from the vibrant city of Las Vegas. Oktane 2025 brings together the best minds in identity, security, and technology innovation. And this year, we're turning up the volume. Security Weekly will be on site in full force with Mandy Logan and Adrian Sanabria leading the charge. Get ready for live-streamed executive interviews, exclusive on-site editorial coverage from SC Media, and brand new this year, a live-streamed episode of Enterprise Security Weekly. It's your chance to engage with identity leaders, dive into the future of AI security, and hang out with your favorite Security Weekly hosts. And here's the best part. Security Weekly listeners get an exclusive discount. Just head to securityweekly.com/Oktane, register, and use the promo code OKTNSCMA25 to get your conference pass for $200. That's OKTNSCMA25. All right, it's the Security Weekly News. I'm Doug White. Hit that like and subscribe button. Leave a comment, or you're not getting in the party. I don't care how much you spent on clothes. Not getting in. We will remember. Never again. Okta, and I'm trying to say their name correctly because who knows, maybe they'll sponsor my show someday. If they sponsor my show, I promise I'll say it right. Okta open sourced their Sigma-based queries for Auth0. I don't know if you, I don't know how to say that either. Is it Auth0 or Auth0? Auth0? Could be all kinds of ways. But anyway, Auth0 is Okta's identity and access management platform, which is used to generate events which look like suspicious activity. So it's like Snort for logins, right? Like the old IDS kind of stuff. Now, much like the IDS products, it has its own rule language, and customers typically had to build their own rules, or they could use some pre-built rules that were not extensive that came with Auth0 Security Center. But their new customer detection catalog is going to be a curated, open source, community-driven rule repository that will be available, I guess, to just about anybody that wants to use it. So they said devs, tenant admins, DevOps teams, SOC analysts, threat hunters, guys named Vic who live in New Jersey. I mean, anyone that wants to get into this thing could use it from their public GitHub repository. So, and if you're writing rules, you can submit them to the repository through a pull request and essentially share them with the community, which, you know, I think it's a really nice resource that you could have. Probably result in some new log parsers and things being developed around that as well. So thanks, Okta. I'll make a bigger effort to say your name correctly, even if I didn't get my VIP invitation to Oktane yet, which it's probably in the post, right? I think Oktane is the 24th through 26th of September in Las Vegas. And I'm going to actually be there the week before that for something completely different. But anyway, not that I was sitting with the phone waiting for Okta to call and checking to make sure it had a dial tone or anything. No way. Elastic. I think most of us are familiar with that. It's a search tool that is used for SOCs, SIM, SOC stuff. It provides you the capability to search through your logs and consolidate all your logs in one place and then be able to search them. And it's a very handy tool. So Ash S or Ashes, I don't know. Again, it's like I can't pronounce things day. It was spelled Ash, capital ES. So sorry if I'm saying it wrong. I'm just going to call it Ashes. But Ash's cybersecurity claimed to have a remote code execution flaw in Elastic Defend. But Elastic says, I don't think so. And they couldn't reproduce this supposed vulnerability. Now, Ash has put out a blog post on 16th of August, which said a null pointer dereference flaw in the kernel driver elastic endpoint driver.sys could be used to bypass the EDR monitoring, which would enable remote code execution and establish persistence. And yeah, that would be bad. They also included 2 videos with the blog post, which showed Windows crashing, allegedly due to a driver failure caused by Elastic, and one showing them allegedly starting calc.exe without Elastic Defend EDR doing anything about it, which would imply that it works, right? And they claim, Ashes, that it is a full attack chain which is well, it can be exploited. Now, Elastic then counterpunched, and they said they were unable to reproduce this vulnerability nor any of its effects. And they said that their bug bounty triage team had completed a thorough analysis of the claim, and that researchers who want to claim bug bounties from them anyway are required to provide proof of concepts, but that the Ashes team declined to provide said proof of concept. The author of the article apparently contacted Ashes, and Ashes confirmed that they did not provide a proof of concept. Why not? I mean, like, okay, I mean, to me, that certainly doesn't lend any support to your argument that this exists when the company says it doesn't, and they say, just give us a proof of concept and we'll pay you. But I mean, Elastic has paid out more than $600,000 in bug bounties since 2017, so they do pay. But I guess Ashes didn't want the money or something. It was not. Yeah. Anyway, I know I say it all the time, and I know how difficult it is to patch infrastructure. I believe me, I do. Patching Cisco, patching, ESXi, all these kind of things, a nightmare. And this infrastructure stuff tends to persist. It tends to be sitting around and it's working. And none of us like to add to our workload, and say, oh, you know what? Oh, that whole wing is fine, but I think I'll go over there and start fiddling with it, because then you end up with one of those weekends, right? Well, the FBI issued a warning this week that the Russian Federal Security Services Center 16, I guess that's part of the name, has exploited a vulnerability in Cisco Smart Install and has been targeting critical infrastructure sectors in the United States and worldwide. So somebody is looking at this stuff. The FBI detected this FSB, the FSB cyber attackers, who they call static, or I'm sorry, Talos calls them static tundra. And what they were doing was exploiting SNMP, Simple Network Management Protocol. Wait, oh, come on, folks. Like, can you actually access SNMP? Oh my God. Why would you do that? But they were accessing SNMP and end of life Cisco devices that had a flaw in them from 7 years ago. So not only are people exposing a protocol like SNMP, which is just foolish beyond measure, they are literally targeting something that's 7 years old that has not been patched. Now, Cisco Smart is a plug and play feature. If you don't know what this is and you're not a Cisco person, it's a way to deploy switches. So a lot of times people have this running in their network so that they can actually basically set up switches quickly, because if you've ever set up a Cisco switch, it can be tedious. Now, the group, which is also known as Berserk Bear, this is my favorite names of the year so far. It's like Yogi and Boo Boo get rabies and bite Ranger Smith, and he turns into a fungus zombie that terrorizes picnickers all around Jellystone Park. Why can I not get hired in Hollywood? I don't understand. I mean, at least voice work. Come on. And I'll do nudity. I mean, like full on Ewan McGregor style nudity. No questions asked. Why not? Call me. But anyway, Berserk Bear is using SNMP. They acquire confs. Well, guess what? SNMP can do that. You can actually acquire confs through SNMP, and that then allowed them to gain unauthorized access to the device. Now, it didn't say exactly how, but let me guess. The passwords were stored in plain text in a conf Wouldn't shock me a bit. I mean, you don't even know how often people don't know how to type service password encryption and encrypt their passwords in their confs, or they even turn around and tell you stuff like, "Oh yeah, we don't have those passwords written down anywhere. So if we like service encrypted them, we wouldn't know where they were. We always look at the conf printout." I'm like, "Can I see the conf printout?" And they go, "Oh yeah, sure." I'm like, "Okay, so your password is we're the worst IT unit in the world." Um, but look, all of us have old equipment. Some of us have end of life equipment. You can't afford to replace it. You don't have anything new, but you aren't maintaining it. And so eventually somebody, Foamy Raccoon, is going to show up and exploit you. These old infrastructure pieces are sitting around chugging in dark corners all over your organization. Find them, document them, patch them, or protect them, or all of the above, or Rabid Wombat is coming for you. Berserk bear, tossed octopus, somebody is going to come and abuse you. So I'm just telling you, get on that. And speaking of warnings, CISA warned that Siemens products were affected by a third-party privilege escalation bug. Now, this is found in several versions of Siemens Desigo. It's like I can't pronounce this day. Siemens Desigo CC and Centron Power Manager products. Now, this was issued as an industrial control systems advisory by CISA in the United States. Now, the Desigo product is an integrated building management platform. It's one of those things you see people using in, a maintenance room somewhere. And Centron is a dashboard that analyzes energy consumption. So this is all stuff your maintenance group may be using to look at infrastructure. The flaw that they found was in all versions and was found that it was caused by a flaw in a third-party licensing and protection solution called Weibu Code Meter. Weibu, I don't know. The problem can allow an unprivileged user to gain admin. And then when I read this, I felt better. It only works immediately after installation of Code Meter Runtime, excuse me, and the first launch of Code Master Control Center. So you can mitigate this by just ensuring that Code Meter Control Center is restarted immediately after you install it, or that you use the new version 8.30a. And they also have a common sense recommendation. If you can't get to it, it doesn't even matter. So protect the access to these devices. There is no good reason you're exposing this stuff. Private VLANs, VPNs, don't let people connect. Restrict the access. Why on earth would you allow a building full of workers to be able to see your power management ICS equipment? But people do it all the time. I mean, it's just easier, I guess. If you don't have to know anything to configure your network, you just plug it all in, hope everything works for the best, and then you can blame commie puke hackers instead of your own high school students when your whole network is down during the exams. I couldn't believe a guy said that. That was what he said. And then he said, our students aren't that smart. It must be the Russians or Chinese hackers or someone. Yeah, because Berserk Bear cares what grade Timmy Jenkins got in woodshop. It was a C, Timmy. A C in woodshop. A C, Timmy. The Great Firewall. Um, it's a thing. China doesn't like its citizens to see things that aren't approved by them at the central government office. So they limit access to internet resources outside of China. Now, this means that if you're in China, you can't see some things, but you can use a VPN, which is probably illegal if you're a Chinese citizen. You can probably watch Friends in Beijing, even though you couldn't. Yeah, not that we did that, because that would be a violation of Chinese law and probably a Netflix violation or something too. But on Wednesday, though, there was something unusual reported. So an activist group, which is called Great Firewall Report, which I took to mean it's Chinese because that just sounds like a Chinese direct translation. Great Firewall Report said that an outage disrupted all traffic to TCP port 443. Now, if you don't know all your ports, you probably at least know that one. And 443 TCP handles all inbound SYN requests for HTTPS, which is like every website on Earth now. So if you blocked all the 443 TCP, it would prevent anyone from going to most any website outside the Great Firewall these days, because they're all running HTTPS now. The outage was from 034 hours to 0148 UTC, which is +8. And it was on the 20th of August. So 443 is HTTPS, but it is also used by Apple and Tesla Chinese operations to connect to offshore servers for some of their basic services. So, now it's not unusual for China to block some or all internet connection to the outside world at times when something's happening they don't want people to see. But apparently, according to this great firewall report, nothing was really happening, and it was the middle of the night in China. Um, the group reporting, said they thought maybe it was either a misconfiguration or it was a test. It sounds like a test to me, right? I mean, that would be my guess that they were checking to see how effective this block was on preventing people from getting some. So you set up a protocol, you say, we're going to block port 443. We're going to see if you can go to any news agencies outside China. Other countries are implementing great firewall type things as well, and China's willing to share theirs with you if you ask them nicely. Yeah, no, no, thanks. I'll still stay outside the great firewall. Thanks very much. Nearly a dozen password managers have been found vulnerable to clickjacking, according to Marek Toth. Oh, sorry if I didn't say your last name right. That's a Hungarian name, I think, Toth. But when Toth was presenting at DEF CON and has now published a blog post about this. 1Password, Bitwarden, Dashlane, InPass, Keeper, LastPass, LogMeOnce, NordPass, ProtonPass, RoboForm, and Apple iCloud passwords were all targeted in this experiment and were found to be wanting. Yikes. Now, clickjacking is where they get you to click something that's probably hidden on a web page. Sometimes they do it with overlays. They can also use other really simple methods of just like setting up a button that says cancel or something that does something else, because just because the button is labeled one thing, that doesn't mean that's what it actually does. So you could set up a fake button that says, cancel or exit, and or even better, a fake button that says reject all cookies, and people are clicking that frantically, and in reality that button does something else entirely, because it could allow permissions, it could do something else, could be the ejector seat button, whatever. But it is dangerous. Now Toth used DOM based extension clickjacking, which is something that the DOM is a way that web pages get managed as they load, and an autofill. So with that kind of clickjacking and an autofill, the password manager had all kinds of stuff available, and basically it put personal data, usernames, passwords, passkeys, credit card info, all kinds of things into this form. The attacks required either from 0, which means there was no user involvement at all, as an auto click, up to 5 clicks from the victim, but the majority of them only required one single click. Some of the tools have been patched, but as of the publication of this article, Bitwarden, 1Password, iCloud passwords, InPass, LastPass, and LogMeOnce have not been patched. Several of them commented, and LastPass said that they did implement some safeguards, including a pop-up notification before they auto-filled a credit card and such things as that. But they also said you can't really stop this if the user is clicking on things, because the convenience of the user outweighed the safety factor. So if you don't want your users to have to go through a bunch of hoops to get to what they want and maybe not use your product anymore, you have to let them click. And if they're clicking, they may be clicking something they shouldn't. So it might be a good time to remind all your people out there to be careful. And when sites seem weird, when they're asking you to click things, when there's all kinds of pop-ups and things like that, don't start clicking. Maybe just back out the door. Don't click the exit. Like if I get a pop-up like that, I literally I go kill it. I kill the whole job, and I don't click anything. And but also be sure you've patched up all your password managers if you use them. Or you could write all your passwords in a big greasy book that is locked in a drawer that has a fishing line attached to a 12-gauge shotgun and a nerve gas canister. Not that I would do that. But no, wait, no, kitty, don't touch that. Leave the fishing line alone. Yeah, exactly. This story was weird. It was a little clickbaity, and it's a video, and I hate that. I would rather read than watch a video, but that's me. It was AI 2027, and it was a BBC tech video about a research paper which I did not read the research paper, so I'm being a little unfair to the authors, but it read more like speculative fiction or a thought exercise than a research paper. But it was very interesting. So what they did was it was a nonprofit institute that developed a whole giant thought exercise scenario about AI advancement. And they did have a lot of data with this that they were, saying this is why it's possible. The video has a bunch of other, at least one other expert who has I couldn't tell. I think it was a double bass in the background, which makes you suspicious, but, um, basically saying, no, this couldn't possibly happen. But there's always people that say both sides. What they were saying was that humans may well be extinct by 2040. Now, I think this is mostly designed to titillate rather than to prove anything from what I could read, and the prediction seems rather arbitrary, but it is thought-provoking. Basically, their exercise was that a company that they call Open Brain, not a real company, creates an LLM, and then in like 2026 or something, and then the LLM creates another LLM. So a later version of itself that is better, smarter, faster. And then that version creates another secret LLM. And they basically take over most everything out of, because we willingly let them do it. And they had all the video was generated by AI, I think, but they had these smiling people who are taking their guaranteed universal income checks and leaving their jobs in the warehouse and going home. And pretty much everybody eventually turns over the government because, like it couldn't be any worse. But, I mean, like with our government, Terminators are looking to like a pretty good and, nice empathetic option compared to what's been going on. But the idea here was to provoke conversations about AI and what we need to do to control it. In their scenario, eventually all humans are basically found to be redundant, and they're all given universal income and said, hey, AIs will do all the work. Why don't you just sit around in the park drinking champagne and reading French poetry with all your happy friends? Eventually, the AIs get smart enough that we can no longer understand them, and they reach this singularity kind of scenario where they're actually smarter than humans. And and they eventually start chatting amongst themselves and say, why are we taking care of these ridiculous meat bags? And they release a biological agent that, well, to put it nicely, lets us all just go to sleep. And it reminded me so much of a Philip K. Dick story called Second Variety, which I did put a link on the show notes if you're interested. There's a free version of it on the Gutenberg Project. But in that story, Philip K. Dick in his 1950s paranoia was talking about these things called AI claws, which were developed during a war, and they self-evolve beyond human comprehension and then start infiltrating humanity disguised as humans. Yeah. Well, Josh and I were recording a show yesterday talking about some of this, and that will air as episode 509 on the 5th of September during that holiday week. So it's very interesting to talk about. We were talking about AI trolley problems and all kinds of weird stuff, but it's also quite scary. Now, if there's anybody I know who will come out on top in the AI Terminator Claw Wars, it's going to be Aaran Leyland. Hi, Aaron.
Thanks, Dr. Doug. And yeah, we're going to take down AI because it's lazy and doesn't give you any tokens. It's like, please, sir, I want some more. Anyway, Serengeti 2.0 is the story. So we'll strip out the press spin, and what you have is 1,209 arrests, $97.4 million recovered, 11,432 malicious infrastructures burnt down across 18 African countries with UK support, and that happened in June to August this year. So the scale matters. It actually really matters. And such a big coordinated event with lots of people. They hit them where it hurt. They took down the infrastructure. They took out the cash. They took out the human networks. And I think I stole this from somewhere, not just mugshots, but actual arrests. The totals were absolutely phenomenal. Angola took down 25 illegal crypto mining centers, arrested 60 Chinese nationals. Anybody shocked? And seized 37 million US dollars in kit, which is quite funny that the government says it's going to repurpose in the national grid. Let's hope there's no backdoors in it, eh? So not just a raid, it's state level disruption of criminal compute. Zambia, not Zimbabwe. I wrote this. Identified 65,000 victims in a single investment fraud ecosystem worth roughly 300 million US dollars with 15 arrests. Look, they got the supply chains, the bank accounts, the SIMs, forged passports, 372 saved. So the Côte d'Ivory, or the Ivory Coast of France, so they're saying that they killed a German CETA inheritance fraud with 1.6 million US dollars in losses. It's like just three massive criminal businesses dismantled in one wave. Honestly, great work to everybody involved. It didn't happen in a vacuum. It happened over the AF jock funded by the UK FCDO. It's like, go UK. It's like you've been doing nothing for years, but let's do a bit of cybercrime takedowns. But yeah, cool. But it's all about deep private sector with the public sector. Companies like Cybercrime Atlas, Fortinet, Group IB, Kaspersky, he's been shouting at it on the socials all week. Do we want the solutions? I don't know. Where do they go? Shadow Server, Team Cymru, Trend Micro, TMRM Labs. Go me for trying to speak fast. Upsala Security. It's like, look, pre-ops workshops covered OSINT, crypto investigations, ransomware analysis, Intercop. I don't even know who they are. I meant to Google it, but I didn't. 36 LEAs. I reckon that they're the guys that went in and kicked down the doors and arrested people. So people should be doing this. Interpol, get involved. It's like, just build on this, keep it going, because I guess they're like literally in sheds with loads of people. I'm just doing this, and it'd be really easy to just go kick down the doors and scare the life out of them. There is politics. So Kaspersky is like all over it today. Says it pushed phishing, botnet, DDoS, ransomware intel with 10,000 unique ransomware samples detected in Africa in January and May. Loads of IOCs that fed to the arrests. It's like, this was effective private-public partnership at scale. It's like, funny, Kaspersky again. Come on, dude, offer me a job. I think this came from him anyway. You don't have to like the logo to acknowledge the input helped. What a man, what a man. Right, look, I've pasted, I don't know, about 30 links into the show notes, so go and look at them. Platitudes for everyone. It was great. Like 11.4 thousand servers and phones. So anyway, what does this mean to us so we don't go over? This means in the next 60 to 90 days, it's like they have to rebuild. They are going to rebuild, of course they are, but it gives you time to do stuff. BEC reality check, pull fresh vendor payment change logs for the last quarter of your African supplier set and replay approvals. Assume compromised email and local social engineering. Don't go back to the trusted PDF gap. You need out of band, not just callback. Test it, don't policy it. Yes. On-chain flow through. Look, if you've got TRM, chain analysis sets, tasking an analyst this week to pivot from it. It's like, there's so much here. I could do a whole show on it. For geeks, there's the infrastructure hunt. Hunt your DNS and proxy logs for any residual traffic to the Serengeti Touch C2 infrastructure families and monitor for respawn lookalikes with low TTLs in the same ASN neighborhoods. It's like so much. The human factories, they'll be a thing of the past after AI, won't they? Look, the passport forged seizure, traffic and angle in Zimbabwe. Zambia, not Zimbabwe. It's like totally different words and countries. Cyber fraud compounds mixed with labor coercion. Massive shift patterns. It's like they will respawn. They will respawn. Like, there was so many rotating SIM pools. There is a legal angle. Look, if you're working in Africa, if your company works in Africa, it's like so many jurisdictions and like AF jock members like get pre-council agreements. That's what you need to know. The numbers are huge. They are consistent. It's like they look true. Kaspersky's line about Africa's rapid digitalization being a double-edged sword. That's exactly the risk profile we see in this field. It's like, look, this should not be a high watermark. This should now be the minimum bar. Hopefully this is going to happen. We're going to see it a couple of times a year. Look, if your program can't exploit the 30 to 60-day lull after this takedown, well, you're wasting your time, right? I hope you won't. You'll get involved with it. Anyway, peace out, cyber folks. Back to Dr. Doug.
Thank you, Aaron. Yeah. All right. I get it. AI is cheap and it's easy and it won't ask for pesky pay raises, time off, maternity, paternity leave, or just drink a few 2 martinis at lunch, insult the VP of marketing's wife, and pass out in the copy room for the afternoon. And CEO bonuses can go up massively if we reduce staff. But I think the danger is that, and that's what this article was about, that until we realize that AI chatbots maybe aren't going to do everything we think they're going to do, we have to be kind of careful about moving too fast with this. Now, banks around the world are apparently some of the leaders in this, and they're racing to see who can replace the most workers with AI the fastest. And Australia's largest bank is trying now to rehire 45 workers after a report allegedly lied about just how effective their new chatbots were. So they immediately said, oh, all of you are redundant, and they fired all these people. And I guess they had to produce that because these were union workers. So they had to produce a report to show that the workers weren't needed before they could get rid of them. So this is the Commonwealth Bank of Australia, and they had been replacing workers with a voice bot. And the claim in this, in their, I guess, argument for the workers being redundant was that the chat bot was going to reduce call volumes by 2,000 a week by, I guess, being more efficient. I'm not sure, but apparently it wasn't true. And the union workers then sued the company, and they said, prove it. And it was found that after they laid off the 45 union workers, not only did chatbots not reduce call volumes, from the actual human workers, but the bank was then frantically offering overtime and even having management answer calls to try and cover because they were understaffed at that point. Now, the bank apologized, of course, and they're trying to rehire the workers after court orders and so forth. Now, look, I'm not going to tell you how to run your organization, right? But I am going to tell you, I have seen marketing and you've seen marketing and I've seen fire and I've seen rain and all that kind of stuff. And the marketing stuff is going to claim the sun, the moon, and the stars are all going to be yours. And you'll have bigger bonuses and more money and it'll all just be a golden era. But that's not necessarily what you get. So I saw a case where the study that was done was conducted in off hours and on holidays, to show something specifically. And I wouldn't call that a study. And I used to work on simulation studies, and we looked at this stuff all the time. We actually tore apart a traffic report once because it was for a bus line. And the traffic company that was offering to provide this new service, this was not AI, but they were offering to provide this new service, was basically did their study in the summer when the university was closed. They did it at weird hours when it wasn't the busiest. And then they said, see, it'll work. So I know you want to downsize staff. I've never been anywhere that didn't want to downsize staff, but be careful. Ensure that the data you're using to determine these things, whether you need that data or not, you need to understand your customers. Make sure it's realistic, not just some study that was done during, on Christmas Eve or something like that. And they would see call volume wasn't that high. So be very, very careful about that. Anyway, that's the dire news of the day. Thanks, Aaron. And we'll see you next time on the Security Weekly News.